going to put together the ceiling. Now the ceiling looks like this. There's no front or back side. It's very symmetrical. So we have the ceiling acrylic plastic. We have a bag with our ceiling fans. And we have 2 of our LED hookup boards and cables. And then we have a bag that contains the wires for the LEDs and also some of the screw and nut and bolt hardware and some of the caps for the LEDs. So we'll be working with this just directly. First of all, what we want to do is take the wires out of our ceiling LED kit, kind of put them to one side. Be careful on this, don't lose anything. We'll separate our white LEDs. There are 8 of them. And then we have 8 of the clear lens caps. And then we have a set of 8 machine screws and nuts. Remove one of the hookup boards with the wires on it. This is the back of it. We have a white wire and a black wire connected to a series of little header terminals here. And on the other end of the wire are the stripped ends. So let's take the stripped ends and put them through the hole, a large hole in the ceiling like this. So here we are, we just kind of mount it by hand over here. Take a machine screw, insert it through the hole in the circuit board, and on the back just hand tighten a nut, and do that for the other 4 screws and nuts. Take the Phillips head screwdriver and tighten the screws just so they're just not too tight. We don't want to crack the plastic. And then do the same thing for the other side here. When you're done, the ceiling panels ought to look like this with the 2 circuit boards mounted with screws. And the next thing we want to look at are our LEDs. So here are our LEDs. This is one of them, and it has 2 leads, and notice that there's a short lead and a long lead. It's kind of important because the short lead is generally the one that is the negative side, and the long lead is the positive side of the LED. And if you get confused, you can't see it here, but there is a flat part of the plastic on the LEDs, and that will identify the short end or the negative end. Now what we need to do is we need to take our cutters and trim these leads to make them shorter. So I'm going to spread the leads apart a bit so they're splayed a little bit, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut something like that. So we have about 1/4 of an inch left on our negative side of the LED. Then I'm going to take the cutters and cut the positive side, but if you look at it, you'll notice it's slightly longer. And I do that for a reason, because we want to be able to identify the short end and the long end. The next thing we want to do is take our LED cabling connector, and notice it has a white wire and a black wire on it. And we want to insert the LED into the connector so that the long end, the one here on the top, is going to go to the white wire, and the short one on the bottom is going to go to the black wire. So let's push this in like so. It should fit through the two holes. Okay, there we go. So it's again kind of important that we always obey the polarity here. We always want to have the positive side of the LED on the white wire and the negative side on the black wire. And so if your LED doesn't light up after we get everything put together, that could be one of the problems. So just bear that in mind. Here are the wires all put together with our LEDs. So we want to get our little lens caps, little clear lens caps like this, tip the panel up, stick the lens cap through one of the four holes here, insert the LED and kind of push hard, and there we have it. So we want to do that for the other four. Now we have the four wires with the LEDs inserted into the ceiling panel with the lens caps on the other side. What we want to make sure of is to look at the bottom of our little circuit board here. We notice that our black wire in this case is on the bottom and our white wire is on the top. So when we move the panel over, we want to take and start with one of the wires, putting the white side on the top because the white wire is on the top. So the white wire on this connector is on the top, the black wire is on the bottom. And then for the other ones, we just want to insert them in the same way. You can alternate, you can skip these little pins. There's those. We'll put the third one in here, like so, and the fourth one in here. I'll plug number 4 in, and just make sure that this side has all white, 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 and the other side has black, 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 black. Now do the same thing for these other 4 LEDs, insert them the same way and put them into the terminals the same way. Now when we're done, it ought to look like this. So we're ready now for our motors and propellers. So take the bag that this came in, take the parts out. We have 2 propellers, we have 4 O-rings. These O-rings will hold the motors against the ceiling. And there we have it. So now we have 2 motors, 4 O-rings, 2 O-rings per motor, and 2 fans. Now we're ready to put everything together onto the ceiling. Start with the motor. Take one of the 2 O-rings and put it over the shaft, and then roll it onto the body of the motor like this. Kind of put it about 3/4 of the way from the shaft to the end of the housing. Now insert the motor through one of the ends of the holes. Take the other O-ring, do the same thing with it. Roll it over the shaft and onto the body. And now you see that the motor is pretty well secure in the ceiling. And finally, take your propeller and stick it onto the shaft so that it spins. Now repeat the process for the other motor on the other side. So the next thing is to take the tie wraps off of the cable, stretch it out. Do the same thing with the other fan cable. And this will get us ready to actually install these in the house. So here we are. Here's our semi-completed ceiling panels with the two fans and the two LED groups. Take the ends of the fan cables, push them through the hole here. Do that for both of them, and then take the wires for the LEDs and the fans, and again twist them together so that they come out as one cable. The next part is kind of tricky. First of all, we're looking at the back of the house, and what we're going to do is take the cables that we just tied together on the ceiling, and we're going to insert one of the cables through this hole in the base and the other cable through this hole in the base. So lay the ceiling panel here, and again, it's best if you have somebody to help you with this. Take the cable on the one side of the ceiling and insert it through the hole in the base. Kind of tip the base up so that the wires will go through, push them through. Now reach underneath, pull the wires through. Okay, now we're taking the other side and pulling it through too. Take the ceiling and flip it over, kind of mush the cables down, kind of lay the ceiling on top here, and take our roof panel with the solar panels on it, put that in, and then lift up and pull the wires taut, and then kind of bring them around to the front. We're going to take the cables that go to the right side of the LEDs and fans, pull them through first, kind of put them over to this side. Take the cables that go to the left side of the ceiling, pull them through the slot, and kind of put them over to the left side like that. So we have the left side cables here and the right side cables here.